Hello, everyone. Welcome to another yoga class. My name is Emily, and today I have for you a beginner's yoga class. So we will move nice and slow. It'll be a gentle class, and I will probably talk a little bit more than normal. So first, there are some rules that I want you to be aware of about yoga. Number one, don't do anything that hurts. Just because I have suggested a pose or some sort of stretch, if your body is telling you no, if you're feeling pain, tweaking, pinching sensations, then back off or skip that pose, right? Your body is the number one teacher. I will come number two, hopefully. Okay, so after that, rule number two is go at your own pace, right? If I'm moving a little bit too fast for you or you're a little bit lost, you can pause, you can rewind, you can do whatever you want, but go at a pace that works for you. We are in no rush, right? Yoga is not about rushing on to the next thing, so take your time. And then rule number three, remember to breathe. I know that sounds obvious, right? But you'll find that when you start stretching and getting into things that are a little bit uncomfortable and things are feeling a little bit tight, we have a tendency to hold our breath or at the very least kind of shorten the breath. So I will cue breath a lot, and that is just to remind you to relax a little bit, right? Remember the breath. Don't go so deep into a pose that you're holding your breath. Okay, that's it. Those are the only three rules. Other than, maybe have fun. Other than that, you don't really need any props, but I want to talk to you about some props that I tend to use in videos. So the first one, the one that I use the most is a yoga block. Right? And so if you are new to yoga, you probably don't have one, and that's okay. You don't really have to have one, but yoga blocks are really good for bringing the ground up to you, right? If you're in this big pose and I'm saying bring your right hand down to the floor and the floor feels really far away, being able to have your hand on the block instead of the floor is really helpful. But then the other thing that I tend to use the block for a lot is just to sit on, right? So if you're sitting cross-legged on the floor, sometimes the hips, the low back start to talk to you. They get a little bit tight and uncomfortable. And so just propping up on a block is really helpful, right? It lets the knees come below the hips. It gives you a little bit more space. It makes sitting just that little bit more comfortable. Now, if you don't have blocks, you can use anything else that is kind of block shaped and sized, right? So you could use a stack of books. You could use some sort of box. You could use even a chair, right? So get creative, see what you've got lying around. And then if you feel like you need something for support in your practice, use whatever you've got. Okay. And so for instance, if you want to be sitting up on something, but you don't have a block, grab a pillow, roll up a blanket, or if it's really uncomfortable even sitting like that, sit in a chair. Always okay. Okay, cool. So that's it for this part. Let's get to our actual yoga. So join me in a seated position. Now I'm going to suggest a cross-legged position. You can prop up on a block or on a pillow or whatever else you've got lying around. Or like I said, you can sit up in a chair. Okay, but we're going to find a seat. Sit up nice and tall. So roll your shoulders up, back, and down and reach the crown of your head towards the ceiling. If it feels okay and you feel comfortable, close your eyes, rest your hands in your lap. And then take a big breath in and let it go. And let's do that again. Big breath in. Sigh it out. And then just breathe normally. And just take a moment to kind of notice any feelings or sensations that are going on in the body. And see if there are parts of the body that you are holding really tense, right? There are some things that have to be working, right? Our low back, our core, a little bit, and then our hips as well. They have to be supporting us at least a little bit so we can stay upright. So we do need some muscle engagement, but your shoulders don't have to be up by your ears, right? So relax those down. Your jaw doesn't have to be clenched. Your hands don't have to be clenched. So what could you relax here? And then let's take another big breath in Breath out. And then nice and slow, just bring your left ear towards your left shoulder. So a nice gentle stretch for your neck. Remember, keep the shoulders relaxed, right? So don't hunch the shoulders up to get the shoulders closer to the ears, right? The ear does not have to come that close to the shoulder. So just breathe here. Feel that big stretch. And then lift the head up through center. Let the right ear come towards the right shoulder. Then lift the head up through center. Keep the back of the neck nice and long, but tuck your chin in towards your chest. Right, just feel a nice big stretch for the back of the neck, maybe into the shoulder blades as well. And then since we're here, right, let's just check in with the rest of the spine. Make sure you're not hunching or rounding forward. Let's stay nice and lifted, right? So the core does stay slightly engaged here. Take a big breath in. Let it go. Lift the head back up through center. Bring your hands down by your side. Then inhale, sweep both of the arms up towards the ceiling. Bring your left hand down by your side. You can lean into that hand a little bit. Reach the right arm up and over. So we'll get a big side body stretch through that right side. Now, check in with the right hip. Make sure the right hip doesn't come off of the mat, right? We're not leaning that far over to the left. We want to keep the right sit bone, the right hip down on the ground. Just reach through the right fingertips. Take a big breath in. Breath out. Then inhale to rise up through center, reach both arms up. And then exhale to the other side, right hand down, left arm reaches up and over. And then again, ground down through that left hip, right? Left hip is not coming off of the ground. And this is where you remember to breathe, right? If going so far into this stretch makes you hold your breath, then back off a little bit. Now inhale, reach up through center, both arms reach up. And then exhale, just bring your hands down by your side. Give everything just a little bit of some sort of movement, right? Roll the shoulders around, roll the head around. And then we're just gonna come all the way to our tabletop position, all fours. So if you have some sort of prop, your block or a pillow, move it off to the side. And then we're just gonna come to all fours. So wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath of hips. And then check in with your belly. So our tendency is to kind of let the belly sag. So we come into kind of this arch, this hammocking of the lower back. See if you can hug the belly in and find a nice flat back, right? So we're not rounding, we're not sagging. We're right there somewhere in the middle. Okay. Now, from here, we're gonna find our cat-cow. So on your inhale, I want you to drop the belly down and begin to look forward. If it feels okay on the neck, maybe you start to look up as well. And then exhale, round the spine, tuck your chin towards your chest and look towards your knees. Let's do that again. Inhale to our cow pose, drop the belly, look forward. Exhale to cat pose, round the spine, chin to chest, press the ground away from you. Keep your elbows nice and straight here, we're not bending. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, drop the belly, look forward, cow pose. Exhale, round the spine, chin to chest, cat pose. And then come back to a neutral spine, right? And then from here, tuck your toes under, sit your hips back towards your heels. Okay, maybe walk the hands towards your knees a little bit. So make sure all of the toes are tucked under, even your pinky toe. And then know that if right away this feels, a little bit uncomfortable, that you're not alone in that, right? So you can keep hands on the ground the whole time. We tend to have tight feet and toes. So yeah, support yourself if you'd like. Otherwise, maybe you walk your hands up to your thighs and you can take a little bit more weight into your feet. So remember when I said don't do anything that hurts the body? Well, this is where we start to learn that there's a difference between pain and discomfort. So if there is pain, then you back off. If there's a little bit of discomfort, we sometimes have to soldier on a little bit, right? We have to kind of push through this discomfort because we're tight and we need to kind of work through some of that tightness. So let's take a big breath in, breath out. And then bring the hands forward. And then keep walking them forward. So we go past our tabletop so that we come to kind of this knees down plank. Right, so we want our shoulders in line with our hips, in line with our knees. So if we were in our plank pose, right, knees would be off of the ground, but same idea. So knees are down. We have this nice straight line. Now take a big breath in, and then on your breath out, lower all the way down to your belly. Untuck your toes so the tops of the feet can press into the mat. Hands will stay by your rib cage. And now hug your elbows towards each other behind you. Roll your shoulder blades back on your spine. Now, press the feet into the floor and inhale, lift your head and your chest. You're very lightly pressing into your hands, not taking a lot of weight into the hands. Cobra pose. Take a big breath in and then breath out, lower back down. Okay, we're going to do our cobra one more time. So press the tops of the feet into the mat. Engage the legs. Inhale, lift head and chest. Hug your elbows towards each other. And then lower back down. Press back up to your knees. Tuck your toes under. And then downward facing dog. So send your hips up and back. And if this pose feels like a little bit too much today, then I invite you to take more of a child's pose, right? So your knees could be down and you could be resting your hips back towards your heels, right? So just like I'm doing now. But otherwise, right, let's come to our down dog and let's just talk about down dog for a moment. So in our down dog, your knees can be bent, right? Your legs do not have to be straight. So knees could be bent. Your feet are about hip distance apart. And then press into all the fingers on your hands, all fingers, and then press your hands down and forward to slightly press your chest back towards your thighs. All right, take just one big breath in, and then breath out. Bring your knees back down to the mat. Sit your hips back towards your heels. Toes could be tucked or untucked, and just roll out the wrists a few times. Right, so one of the biggest complaints that people have when they first start yoga, and even when they've been doing yoga for years, is that their wrists hurt, right? So every now and then, give them a little bit of a break, kind of shake them out or turn them around, whatever you got to do, but just kind of stretch out the wrists a little bit. Okay, so let's come back forward. We're going to do a few of those things again. So we're going to come back forward to that knees down plank, right? So we're going to shift the hips forward. Shoulders over the wrists, or maybe even a little bit forward of the wrists over the fingers. Take a big breath in, and then breath out, lower down to your belly. Untuck the toes. Hands will stay by your rib cage. Press the feet into the mat. Inhale, lift your head and your chest. Hug your elbows towards the midline. Cobra pose. Then lower back down. Press back up to your knees. Tuck your toes under. Downward facing dog. Send the hips up and back. Let's go over it one more time. The knees are bent. The feet are about hip distance apart. Press the hands down and forward to press your chest back towards your thighs. Then take a big breath in. Let it go. Now, bend your knees, look in between your hands, and we're just going to start to tippy-toe the feet up to meet the hands at the top of the mat. Your knees can bend as much as you need to do this. You can take as many steps as you need to do this. And then eventually, we make our way to the top of the mat to our forward fold. So feet are still about hip distance apart. They could be even a little bit wider if that feels more comfortable. Knees are bent, belly rests on the thighs, and then let the head hang heavy. Right, so you're not looking down at the mat, you're looking more in between your knees. Let the arms hang heavy. Take a big breath in, breath out. Right, and this is where those blocks might come in handy. If a forward fold feels like, that's a really big move, right? You could always have hands on blocks for a little bit more support. But the knees can bend as much as you need here. Let's take one more big breath in. Sigh it out. And then inhale to a flat back. So slide your hands up to your shins, or maybe even all the way up to your thighs. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And then reach the crown of your head forward. So now you're looking straight down, right? You're not looking forward. We've got a nice straight neck here. So we're looking straight down. All right, flat back. Take a big breath in. And then breath out, forward fold. Once again, just drop the head, bow down over the legs. We're going to do that one more time. So inhale to your flat back, lift up, hands slide up the legs. And then exhale, forward fold. This time on your inhale, sweep your arms out to the side. Press down through your feet to rise all the way up to standing. Reach the arms up to the ceiling. Extended mountain pose. And then hands to heart center. Roll the shoulders around. Maybe shake out the legs. Right? Find some sort of movement if that's what your body is craving. And then take a big breath in. Let it go. Then inhale, sweep your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees as you go, right? We don't have to have straight legs. Inhale, flat back. Now, this is another place where maybe hands could come to blocks if you've got them, but otherwise, just bend the knees so much that the hands can come down to the mat. Step your left foot to the back of the mat. You might even have to wiggle it back there a little bit further. And then bring your left knee down. Now, I'm going to grab my blocks so I can show you, some ways to use them. Okay, so my right knee is over my right ankle. My left knee is down, and my left toes can stay tucked, especially if placing the top of the foot on the ground hurts the left knee, right? If that doesn't feel good, keep the toes tucked the whole time. Always okay. All right, now I'm gonna have my hands on blocks because it feels like a long way and my knee gets in the way of bringing my hands all the way to the ground. So, hands on blocks, roll the shoulders back, lift the heart forward, and then breathe. Right? You could be feeling this stretch in a lot of different places. One big place that you might feel it is the front of that left hip. But you also might feel it in your right hip, the outer hip, or in your glutes, maybe even in your low back, right? But there shouldn't be pinching or pain in the low back. So if there is, maybe walk that left knee in a little bit. Take a load off, right? So take a big breath in, breath out. All right, we're just gonna go all the way back to that forward fold. So we're just gonna step forward. So walk the hands forward, tuck the left toes if they're not already, lift the left knee, and then take either a few steps with that left foot or one giant step with that left foot to the top of the mat. Feet hip distance apart. Once again, forward fold over the legs, drop the head, look back in between the knees. Then inhale to your flat back. Hands to shins or thighs, perhaps reach the crown of the head long, but look straight down. Keep the shoulders back. And then forward fold, bow back down. Then inhale, sweep the arms out to the side as you rise up all the way to standing. Reach the arms up to the ceiling. Hands to heart center. Okay, let's do the other side. So inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. Again, bend the knees enough that hands can come down. Step the right foot to the back of the mat this time. Bring the right knee down. And we'll come to our low lunge on this side. So the left knee is over the left ankle. The right knee is down, and maybe the right toes stay tucked if that feels better for you. Hands to the ground or hands to blocks or whatever else you might got lying around. And then we'll lift up tall through the spine, roll the shoulders back, broaden through the collarbones, right? We're not rounding here, but we're trying to find a little bit of space in the front of the body. And then just stay here, just breathe, feel where you feel the stretch, right? Maybe the front of the right hip, maybe into that left hip glute area. And maybe you feel it in one of the places that I didn't even mention, and that's okay. It kind of depends, right, on where you hold tension or have some tightness in the body, so it could be different for everybody. Let's take one more. Big breath in. Breath out. Then we'll bring the hands forward. Lift the right knee, and then one giant step or however many steps you need to just bring that right foot to the top of the mat and forward fold over the legs. Maybe find some movement, sway the hips a little bit side to side, or even shake out the head. And then inhale to a flat back. Roll the shoulders back. Nice long spine. Exhale, fold down. And then inhale, rise up to standing. Sweep your arms out to the side. Reach up. Hands to heart center. Okay, here we go. We just got to make it down to the ground again. So inhale, sweep your arms up. And then exhale, forward fold. Flat back. Bend the knees enough, hands come down. Step the right foot back. Step the left foot back. Lower the knees down. And then just find a seat. So however you want to get there, we're going to find a seat on your bum. Remember, you can always sit up on something, right? So you could always, a block might be a little bit big for this next kind of part, right, as we're stretching on the ground, but a pillow or a rolled up blanket might come in handy. We're going to find our cobbler's pose. So soles of the feet together, knees out nice and wide, and then bring your hands to your ankles, your shins, your feet, whatever kind of works for you, whatever feels most natural here, and then just sit up tall. Roll the shoulders back so we find space for the neck. And then if this feels like enough, you can stay here the whole time. There's no need to go anywhere else, right? You could just stay here. But if you want a little bit more, take a big breath in, reach the crown of the head towards the ceiling. And then on your breath out, just start to lead with the heart. We're going to fold down over the legs. So what I mean when I say lead with the heart, and I'll show you from the other side, is that if you're already feeling tight in the hips and this already feels like a big pose so that you're already finding this rounding, right? We don't really want to necessarily fold like this because it's not really getting us where we want to feel that stretch. So first what we do is we just find the length, and then maybe we stay here if this is a good stretch. Otherwise, big breath in, and then this is when we start to fold forward with that more or less flat back. And you might not be able to go as far, and that's okay. And just take a few breaths here. One more breath in, breath out. Rise all the way up to your seat. And then extend your right leg out long and bring your left foot, the sole of your left foot, inside of that right leg. The knee will go out to the side. Now, turn your torso so that your heart is reaching out, is pointing towards the right big toe. And again, this is a big pose, so you could stay here the whole time. And in fact, you could bend that right knee a little bit. You could bring your hands behind you so that you can stay propped up and just lift the heart, roll the shoulders back. Okay? Or take a big breath in and then breath out. Once again, lead with the heart, maybe fold over the right leg. You could walk the hands forward. And so a lot of times in our yoga practice, we think that the point of it is to get to, some big pose, right? And a lot of times that idea is to get the hand to the ground or get as low as you can. And that's not really the point, right? A lot of times what the point of yoga, at least in the sense of kind of the stretchy part, is to find space and expansion in the body. And so, crunching down into something isn't going to be helpful. Maybe staying lifted, but finding expansion and finding space in the back of the leg is going to suit you better, right? So be patient and know that you do not have to get to the ground. You do not have to touch your forehead to your shin. But instead, just stay where feels effective and perhaps good, right? And take a big breath in. Let it go. And then rise all the way up. Bring your hands behind you. We're just going to swap legs. So extend the left leg out. Bring the right foot in. And then turn your torso towards that left big toe. Find a seat that works for you, right? So sometimes I even scoop my butt cheeks out of the way, right? So you've got your two sits bones, so you can feel those sits bones into the ground, right? Move the flesh out of the way. All right. Then from here, again, you could bend the left knee. You could bring hands behind you for support and just stay here, or take a big breath in And then breath out, fold down, right? Lead with the heart. And then bring your attention to what is going on in this pose for you. And so that could be a lot of things. That could be maybe number one being checking in with the breath, right? Is the breath normal? Is it kind of nice and smooth breathing? Or are we kind of taking these jagged breaths because this is a difficult pose for us? So maybe we first check in with the breath, see if we can modify it, see if we can just make it normal, smooth it out, or even deepen the breath, right? Big breath in, breath out. But then the next thing we could check is, where do we feel the stretch? Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes when we start to really tune in, we say, not only do I feel this in my hamstring, but I feel this in my glutes, I feel this in my low back, I feel this, where do you feel a pose? Because that is going to start to let you know where you hold tension in your body, right? It's going to inform you as to what is going on with you, which, is useful to know. All right, rise back up. Extend the legs out long, both legs out straight. And then sit up as tall as you can. Knees can always be bent, but reach your arms forward, and we're just going to roll onto our back. So take your time to get there, which we're all going to want to rush down to our back, but take your time. Then we'll get onto our back. Bend your knees, stamp your feet on the ground. And then cross your right ankle over your left thigh. Let your right knee kind of fall out to the side. And then you can stay here the whole time. If this feels like a pretty nice stretch for maybe the right hip and glute area, then stay here. If you want more, take your hands, loop them around the left leg and pull the legs in closer to you. Flex your feet perhaps. Now, if pulling the legs in closer to you means that you also have to round the head and the shoulders off of the ground, not worth it, right? Let the head and the shoulders relax down and just bring that left foot either back down to the ground, or you could put a block underneath of that left foot to kind of find an in-between. All right, let's take a big breath in. Breath out. And if it feels good, rock the hips a little side to side. And then we'll just switch sides. So let the sole of the left foot come down, uncross the right leg, and then cross the left leg, the left ankle over the right thigh. Same thing, either stay here or pull the legs in closer to you. Keep the head and the shoulders on the ground and relaxed. Check in with the breath. Right? Our hips tend to carry a lot of tension, right? A lot of us have tight hips. So if that is you, you might find that this pose is intense. So then you might be, holding your breath. See if you can take big breaths in and out and see if you can use the breath to relax, right? Sometimes it's not so simple, but sometimes it is. All right, take a big breath in, breath out. And then bring the right foot down. Bring the left foot down. Slide the left leg out long. Hug the right knee into your chest. Give it a big squeeze. And then maybe take it in a few little circles. Switch directions of the circles. And then supine twist. So bring that right knee across the body. You'll shift on to the left hip a little bit. And then there is no need for the right knee to make it all the way down to the ground, right? Think about keeping the right shoulder down instead and open up the arms. If it feels a little bit uncomfortable having your right leg just kind of hovering in the air, that's where our props come in handy. If you have a block, you can put the block underneath of that right knee or shin, or you could pile up some blankets, some pillows, use your couch, whatever you've got lying around. Prop up that leg so you can relax into the pose a little bit more. And take one more big breath in. Breath out. Slowly roll back through center. Extend the right leg out long next to the left. And then maybe give everything kind of a little shimmy and a shake and just kind of, see what's going on. And then we'll switch sides. So draw the left knee into the chest, and then we'll bring the left knee across the body. Shift onto the right hip. So you're laying more or less on the right hip. Left knee doesn't have to come to the ground, but reach the arms out long. And then if it feels better, maybe prop up that left leg. And then relax the face, relax the shoulders, relax the hands. And take one more really big breath in. Let it all go. Roll onto your back. Stretch that left leg out long on the mat next to the right. Once again, give everything a little bit of a shake, right? Move around, fidget, readjust, whatever you got to do, but then find stillness. So we're going to find our Shavasana, our final resting pose. So your legs are out long. Maybe they're as wide as the mat. They could be even wider, right? What feels good for you. But then arms by your side, palms face up. And then always know that even this pose, right, it's supposed to be a nice resting pose, but if you have some issues with your hips or your lower back, maybe it doesn't feel good. And then you could always bend the knees and let the knees fall in on each other. Always a fine way to take your Shavasana as well, right? So make this pose work for you. And then find some stillness. And see if you can just enjoy the quiet and the peace of this, right? Instead of thinking about what you're going to do after this, this is part of our practice. So just be still, be quiet, just lay here in it and see if you can relax a little bit more. Take a big breath in, sigh it out. Wiggle your fingers and your toes, and rock your head side to side. And then reach your arms up overhead, find a big stretch, a full body stretch, maybe even yawn. And then roll onto your side. So you'll kind of curl up into a little ball. Maybe you use your arm as a pillow for a moment. And then when you're ready, press yourself up to a seat. So we'll find any seat that's comfortable, but bring your hands to heart center for a moment. Close your eyes and just acknowledge the work that you've done today. Sometimes the hardest part is deciding to do it, right? To get started. So thank yourself for showing up, for doing the work, for doing something good for you. Take one more big breath in. Let it go. Bring your thumbs to third eye center. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. Have a beautiful day. Namaste. All right, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope that you enjoyed this class. If you did, then do me a favor and like the video, comment below with some things that maybe you'd like to see in these videos, things you want to work on. And then don't forget to subscribe so you can see all the new videos. But otherwise, thank you. Have a beautiful day.